Good morning. My name is Teresa Doherty, and I am the coordinator for business and information technology programs here with Virginia Beach City Public Schools. It is my honor to take you through the curriculum training and updates for the advanced accounting course for the 2020-2021 school year. So what I'm going to do, because those of you who are teaching advanced accounting have already taught accounting, so you really are relatively familiar with everything, this is going to be a briefer, more of an update rather than a curriculum training per se. So I want to introduce some of the things that are new for us this year, especially because we're starting the year in a virtual way, and then I'll kind of roll through the rest of it. So what I'd like to do first is share my screen with you. Let's see here. We'll go over to our Advanced Accounting Schoology course. So what you should be looking at right now is the Advanced Accounting Schoology group that we have, which is intended for those teachers who are teaching this course. So I want to highlight just a couple of things for you. The first being this orange folder at the very top that says training and updates. That's where this recording, when it's completed, will go. And any other updates that we have throughout the year, I'm going to make sure that those are recorded and updated there, and then in any following years. And really all that is a link to a YouTube channel that encompasses any sort of on-demand training that is recorded for business and information technology programs. So anyway, that's in there. Where I'm going to wrap up is this green folder here, the virtual learning support. This is really all of the new stuff for this year. So I'm just going to point a couple of other things out, and then we're going to spend the majority of our time in this folder because that's really where the updates are. So if you've been with Virginia Beach for any length of time, you know that Schoology is our latest learning management system, and you should be familiar with it. The advanced accounting is intended to be a second year course. The students should be taking the accounting course before they get here, and the idea is that they are building on the concepts that they learned about accounting principles in the accounting course. So something that's a little bit different for this year is the options that the students have for industry certification. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the green folder. So this front matter, if you have looked at any of the other courses, you'll notice that all of them have this guide in there, and the only thing that really varies is the minimal information that's provided for that specific course. So this one would say advanced accounting, and the one that's in accounting would say accounting. And for the most part, it's a document that just kind of describes what the framework is, what the mission, vision, goals, objectives, and it's got a lot of active links in there that will take you to like the CT resources and places like that that have teaching strategies and just some general pedagogy that's in there. So anyway, that's what you'll see in front matter. It's not something that you're going to spend a ton of time in. Typically where you would be for a lot of this would be in the resources folder, and that's where you would find the pacing, the competencies, kind of everything broken down into units for the course. I will say, because there are a limited number of folks who teach the advanced accounting course, I know that I've got some locations, especially in our academies, who have opted to do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. This is really intended to be something that is a good guideline for you. If you're not sure where to start, this is a good place to go. But also, like I said, there are a few who have been teaching this for a while, the advanced accounting, and because it's such a small number of folks, they've really done a great job of kind of honing in on what works well. So we do have this in here. It is a resource that's available to you, but certainly if you already have something in place that's covering those competencies well, then you really don't need to worry about looking in here. The competency logs that we keep for our courses, I typically put just a link into our CTE resource website. That way you have the most recent version. So anytime something is updated, you just have the link. So you know you're getting the most updated competency log for the students. Now, in the spring of 2020, the CTE resource website crashed. And VDOE has been working feverishly since then to rebuild the site, or create actually a new site. I don't think the old site is working at all at this point. So I'll share with you what they provided in the interim, but just know that if you go in here and you click on the link, it's probably going to show as a broken link this year in the 2020-2021 school year. So this recording is taking place in August of 2020. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at as you're listening to some of this. The workplace readiness skills is a change I'm going to go over as well in the green folder. So we'll skip over that. And hopefully, if you've gotten to the advanced accounting, you know what FBLA is and how all of that works. So I would encourage you to reach out if you need some help with it. FBLA is our designated student organization for business and information technology programs, and it stands for Future Business Leaders of America. So inside here is just a little bit of information about it. I can plug you in with people who are within our division, and then both at a regional and a state level to help get your chapter up and running for your school if your school does not currently have one. It should, and there should be a business teacher who is an advisor, but if you're coming in and maybe replacing someone who's retired or something like that, you may need to have a little bit of extra help with that. I do want to make sure that I'm making this distinction with our student organizations like FBLA. They are not co-curricular, or excuse me, they're not extracurricular, they are co-curricular. So it's not the same as a club that students might go to that is above and beyond or outside of what they do in school all day. The student organization is co-curricular, meaning what they're learning about is directly aligned with the professional development that they would receive, or challenges that they would participate in these student organizations. So there is a distinction between those two. It is not intended to be an extra layer of requirement in any course. It's really intended to be something that's kind of interwoven into what you're already doing. And like I said, if you want some help with that, I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction. I can tell you briefly that for the 2020-2021 school year, there are some plans in place for some regional and state activities for the students. They will be virtual, so I'll share more about that in a different email at a different time, but I did want to at least point that out while we were in here. Down here are some strategies that are mostly pedagogy strategies, and this is really just kind of intended for as a reference for you. So if you were looking for some help with something in your classroom, or maybe you just weren't really sure how to write a good essential question, maybe you just wanted some help, or a refresher, there's some things in here that can help you with that. And the thought behind this was that it's been vetted and curated for you. It's a combination of things that are found across the internet from different divisions, and then also within our own division. So lots of different things that are in here, and I would definitely encourage you to kind of take a peek in here as you're going through if you are looking for a particular strategy, if you're looking for something to do for your class and you need some ideas. Okay, so we're going to spend the rest of our time in this green folder here. And some things that are new for the 2020-2021 school year for starters is the fact that we are on a 4x4 schedule. And so the pacing has been adjusted to reflect that. We're also going to go over those updated course competencies that I was telling you about from VDOE. And then I also wanted to talk about the online resources that I specifically recommend for us getting started virtually this year. So that's everything that I've got in here. So the very first thing you'll notice is the pacing guide. And like I said, I think that it's a place to start, but because many of you have been doing this for so many years, you may have some thoughts on how long some of this is going to take. So I do think that as we get through this first term, we're probably going to be able to tweak this a little bit more. Let me see if I can open this up just a little bit more so you can see. And this just covers the first 9 weeks. So we will have another one that we kind of plug in as we move forward. But the idea is we're just going to focus on this first part that is most likely virtual and see how that works. So on a 4x4 schedule, a year-long course is completed in a semester. And a semester would be completed in about 9 weeks. So what you're looking at in this pacing guide is about a semester's worth of work. So I tried to update these competencies so that they reflect the new numbering. I'm still going through a lot of the competencies for a lot of the courses to make sure that they match up. And I'll talk more about that in just a second, but just know that the ones for advanced accounting should be pretty accurate. So what you're looking at should be reflective of what you see on the VDOE website at this time. So anyway, if you look at the first column, this just takes you through those 9 weeks. So it's done weekly. And the topics are kind of, they should be tied to what you see in the resources in terms of the units. I tried to kind of tie those two together. And then in that third column, I'm listing specific resources that will help get you there. So things that you might want to use, especially that are going to help you collaborate virtually or that your students are going to be able to access online. And you may notice that some of them are things that you're familiar with and some of them are not, but we are going to cover all of them. So just know that that's kind of how we're going to do this, and you've got a pacing guide at least to get you started for the first 9 weeks. Also inside here is a folder that covers course competencies and workplace readiness. So the first thing that I want to do is show you what the competencies look like in the interim on the VDOE website. So rather than having that link that takes us to Verso, which is traditionally where we find all of those competencies, and then you know how you can usually click on the competencies and they'll give you a little more in-depth explanation of what it means and maybe some examples or some suggestions for topics or projects or links to lessons and things like that. That is not what you will find this year. Instead, what they've provided is a PDF, and it has all of the information that you would have in general in Verso. But the difference is that it's a PDF, so you're not going to be able to click on any of these and get additional information. What you see is what you get. One of the things that is one of the biggest changes, and this was across the board for all of CT from VDOE, is that they have removed those first 38 workplace readiness competencies. So anything that was in those first 38, which we know are the same no matter what CT course you're taking, they've elected to kind of set those to the side. Now you're still responsible for covering them, but instead of seeing those first 38 in every class that you, or every competency group that you look in, it's now starting with a content competency. And excuse me, one of the issues that we're running into is that some of them begin their numbers with 39 and some of them begin their numbers with 001. So that's kind of made our competencies a little bit funky, the numbering. So we just need to go back and make sure that that all of those are aligned with whatever the updated competency number is. So the competency is still the same. That hasn't changed this year, but the numbering may have. So at any rate, this is kind of what you can expect when you click on the competencies for this year, just so you kind of have an idea of what they've got. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, they'll have that new site built and we'll be able to go back to business as usual. What they have done in the meantime is put all the workplace readiness information in a different PDF. So what you'll notice in here is it's giving you the same information that you would have before, and this one does have live links in it, so that at least is helpful to have. And the idea behind removing this from each of those individual courses is that it was never intended to be taught as separate units. So we don't want teachers going in there and teaching a couple of units about things like work ethic or lifelong learning and then never returning to that subject. The idea is that this is a part of those soft skills that the students are building, and really they just need to be woven in where appropriate and kind of revisited as the course allows. So all of that information is in here. There are instructional resources in a live link inside this PDF. So I wanted to make sure that I put that one in there. But the other one that I listed, because I didn't want to overwhelm you, is the CTEX website. So CTEX has been around for a while, and I opted to put that link in here because it's a great starting point, jumping off point for a lot of other resources when it comes to workplace readiness. So it has some learning modules on there. I think there's some videos and some lessons and stuff that are right there, but also it's got links to other states' workplace readiness things that have been vetted by Virginia and listed as something that's valuable to use. So there are other things in there that you could go and look at that will make your life easier so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So you don't need to create more lessons or more resources. I would really suggest that you go in here as you're trying to decide how you want to navigate this and introduce the topics to your students, and find some things in here that would be beneficial for you. I think you're going to be a lot happier doing that than than trying to come up with stuff independently. All right, the rest of these red folders that you see in here, these are all resources that are tied to certifications or that are tied to the purchased resources that are for this course. So one of the things that I wanted to go over with you briefly is this QuickBooks Certified User Exam, because this is something that you're going to see in the 2020-2021 school year. You're going to see it offered at both the accounting level and the advanced accounting level. And that's because it wasn't offered to students last year in the 2020 school year. So this year we want to make sure that we offer that to both students in both classes. Now, for the students who are in the advanced accounting class, they can also continue to sit for the NACD and prepare. They do have the option to do both right now, but I did want to make sure that you had that information for the QuickBooks, because that's where all of the a lot of the resources are heavily I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but they're really heavily built up around the idea of QuickBooks being the software that they're learning how to manipulate. So I did want to make sure that that was something that was out there for you. So inside this folder, I provided, this is like a little 2-minute demo. It just kind of introduces everything. This is the overview of what the QuickBooks exam is. And there are two different versions. There's a desktop and there's an online version. And the online version would be the exam that our students would take. So this is an overview for that online version. I did put the exam objectives down here just so you can kind of see how all of that works. It's 50 minutes long, it's 50 questions, and it's just a great picture of what you can expect the students to be learning. The other thing that I put in here is a link. This is a video that's only about 5 minutes long, but it highlights the Miami-Dade County Public Schools and how they incorporated QuickBooks. So it's really helpful to kind of see a nice cross section of different students and different teachers teaching it, and the value that they saw in it, the value that their students see in it, and how all of that came together and really helped build their accounting programs. So I wanted to make sure I put that in there. I think it's a good thing for you guys to watch. I also think it's a good thing for maybe to share with your students, to kind of help get them on board. Okay. Below that is the getting started with the QuickBooks Online. So QuickBooks Certified User Exam comes through Certiport. So the nice part is, if you have ever used any other Certiport, taught a class that has a Certiport industry exam, then you already know the platforms that are being used. So whether it is a LearnKey resource or it's a practice exam, it's going to come through Geometrics. If it's the industry credential, it's going to come through our Consulate platform or portal. So just know that there's not really much else for you to learn other than getting into the actual material for the QuickBooks, but where it's housed is the same place that some of your other things have been housed. So if you've taught Microsoft before, or you've taught IT fundamentals, you're still going to those same two places. So if you already have those accounts, it should just show up as something that's available for you to create. Excuse me. So when you come in here, I tried to break it down as much as I could to give you just a real, and all of these, by the way, are relatively short. They're like little videos, tiny reads, and it's really intended just to kind of give you a bite size. This is what you need to get started. And I believe I have provided our vendor contact information as well. So I know that I emailed it when all of this first came out, but if I don't have it up here somewhere, then I'll make sure I add her information right on the front so that you guys can see it, because she's more than happy to help get you started with some of that too if you're feeling overwhelmed. One of the other things that we purchased is Knowledge Matters. So this actually started with a different coordinator for a different content area. And when they purchased Knowledge Matters, we were able to kind of hop on with accounting and take advantage of the fact that we have access to that resource. So this is something that's new. We haven't tried it before. I'll be really interested in your feedback from this year. So if it's something that works well, maybe we can continue to investigate or purchase other things. If it's not something that's really beneficial, we can pitch it for next year. That's not a big deal. So anyway, there's a link that gets you to a website that's got a bunch of short videos that all do the training for you. So this won't have any kind of formal training that I lead. This literally is the training, and you can see how quickly and user friendly it is. So I think that that'll be a pretty easy one for you. And of course, anytime you've got questions, you're welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you with that. So anyway, you've got that Knowledge Matters. You have the QuickBooks, which that's the QuickBooks Online version. And that's what you'll be using to kind of show your students how to handle electronic accounting books. And then the other thing that we purchased is LearnKey courseware. So LearnKey is different from the practice exams and projects for accounting that you see in Geometrics. This is actual software that has lessons and modules and all kinds of good stuff in there. And we did that because the My Accounting Lab went away, and we still have our college accounting book that we use for both of our courses. So while this doesn't line up to the college accounting book, it does line up with all of the QuickBooks material for certified user certifications, and it lines up with the practice and the projects that are in Geometrics. So that was one of the reasons why we did that, so that you could kind of pull all of that together and feel like there was something cohesive that you were using. So again, all of this information was emailed to you last year when we first got it, but nobody really got a chance to use it because the global pandemic kind of sent us all home in March. So this, I think, will be the first year that anybody uses it, the 2020-2021 school year. I will say that it was purchased and put in the Geometrics accounts in the schools that were designated as teaching accounting and advanced accounting. So if you go in there and you do not see it, just reach out to me and we can shift that around. That's not a big deal. I know that sometimes schedules change, and that was based on what we were told earlier in the year. So I know that I already had at least one school that has shifted around. So if you go in there and you try to create a code or create a course and you don't see the LearnKey courseware for accounting in your account, Geometrics account for your location, just let me know and we'll take care of that for you. Okay, one of the other things that we purchased this year is the e-readiness bundle. And this is actually the information to test drive it. And I just got the subscription information for our license yesterday. So I haven't had a chance to go in and swap any of this out, but you can still use the test drive through the end of August 2020. So if you're watching this as we're getting ready to return to school, you can still go in there and play around with this. This was done as a trade-off to some edutyping resources that we had a subscription to and that had expired in June of 2020. So BE Publishing has been around for a while, and for those who have been in the business class realm for a while, business education for a while, you know, they've got all kinds of stuff. I mean, everything from posters to textbooks to, you know, they used to have CDs of like how to do spreadsheet and format documents and things, and videos. They just got kind of a plethora of different things. And they also used to have this companion site to some of those materials. Well, when they decided to revamp everything this year, this month, August of 2020, they launched an e-readiness bundle, which essentially provides for a single subscription access to all of the titles that they offer. You have unlimited instructor access, unlimited student access. You can download as much stuff as you want. And like I said, all of that is for a single subscription, which was huge. So it's a nice cross section of different content, business content. And the reason that I put it in this course is because it does include accounting. Now, each of these they have different, it's not consistent in terms of what's provided. So it's not like every single title that they have has the exact same thing. It still depends on which title you're looking at. But I did want to make sure that I included that in here because there may be some things that would be helpful even in the advanced accounting. So you can take a look at it. I put the link down here to sign up for the test drive, and you can do that through the end of this month. It gives you access basically to the same stuff that the subscription will. And what I'll be doing in the coming days is going through and taking this information out and plugging in our actual subscription information for our classes that could use this. So eventually you'll see that, and then you can go in. A couple of things that I wanted to mention about things like this e-readiness bundle, two things. One is the new platform called ClassLinks. Now, you should be familiar with the Clever platform, which was a single sign-on platform that you got to through your school's website, and it recognized you as a teacher and tied all of the students that were in your classes to you. So it made it really easy to populate sections of things based on whatever web portal you were using or software subscription was on Clever. And basically it was just kind of a one-stop shop for all of the teachers and all of the subject areas. they have shifted in the summer of 2020 from the Clever platform over to a platform called ClassLinks. Now, ClassLinks is supposed to do the same thing that Clever does, plus a few other bells and whistles. And all of that training is going to come from your site. Your ITS probably has more information about it. This is not something, ClassLinks was not something that was purchased through TCE. That's something that's a division-wide purchase, and so that training is going to come from your site. But just know that anything that I had listed in terms of portals or subscriptions on Clever, I have asked to have posted on ClassLinks. Additionally, anything new that we've purchased, like this eReadiness, which will have a portal to a website that you sign in with your subscription information, I've asked for things like that to be on ClassLinks as well, because it just makes, it's going to make your life easier to do that than to have to go into each individual website that we might have a subscription to, make sure that you're saving everything, signing yourself up and getting verified as a teacher, and then whitelisting the links and stuff. It just becomes a pain. So ClassLinks eliminates all of that legwork and just allows you to get straight to work. So I did want to mention that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that we are shifting or offering, not shifting, to a virtualization for this fall. So one of the issues that we've come up against in TCE is that a lot of the programs that we teach, especially with our industry certifications, don't run on a Chromebook, and we are a school division that is one-to-one with Chromebooks. We need a Windows desktop, and so that was kind of an immediate issue for us as we realized that this virtual learning would be taking place more than just in an emergency setting in the spring, that would be continuing. We needed to find a way to help support our programs and allow access to for our students virtually. So that's kind of how this came about. So over the summer of 2020, we and DOT have been working together to create virtual desktops for all of the programs, not just for business, but for tech ed and, you know, and marketing and trade and industry, all those good things. So all of that to say, training will be coming out. Our goal is to have this available to you by the start of school and then have it ready to roll out for students shortly thereafter. And this virtualization means you can log in, or your students can log in from any device. So it could be a Chromebook, it could be a MacBook, it could be whatever. But when they log in, they're going to have a Windows desktop, and they will have access to all the software that they should have access to as if they were in a computer lab at school. And they're just basically housing these in different pods based on the how much bandwidth the software needs. So the heavier, the software that requires a little bit heavier lifting is going to be in one pod, and the stuff that that we have, for the most part, things like our Microsoft and our Geometrics and stuff like that, that'll probably be sitting somewhere in a different pod. But the idea is that they're not necessarily logging into your computers at your location remotely. They're logging into a pod of virtual computers that has been created. And the idea is that those pods can expand and contract as needed, rather than you being limited to, let's say, the 20 desktops that you had in your lab. So we'll talk more about that later, but I did want to make sure that you knew that was something that that has been looked at and talked about and problem solved and worked on. So we do know that is an issue, especially for our Microsoft and things like that. So in Geometrics. So we do have a solution. We're just working out the final bits and pieces and putting it all together for you. And we should have that shortly. So that's everything that I have for you for the advanced accounting. Like I said, I was going to make it as short and sweet as possible, because you should have most of that information already from teaching accounting or one of the other courses that we have. I certainly thank you for your time. I am looking forward to working with you, and I hope you have a great year.